Hey y'all, I'm Kayla Ashbrooks, and I currently have the pleasure of serving as a student advisor on the Student Leadership Committee for Sigma Tau Delta. In a few moments, you'll hear from several of our wonderful student leaders who are discussing our 2022 Common Reader, Dear Martin by Nic Stone, through the exploration of a series of questions. This week's question asks, how does the materiality of the text, like italics for the journal entries and letters, inform your reading? We look forward to you joining our conversation by sharing your thoughts in the comments.
I think that the use of italics in the journal entries really helped me further clarify and solidify exactly what was going on in the book. Even just from a brief look at the page without even reading any of the words on it, I could immediately tell which pages were journal entries or other documents and which pages weren't and were actually part of the novel storyline. It definitely contributed to making the novel clear and easy to comprehend. And since I wasn't caught up in trying to figure out how to read the book, I could focus in on the actual content and message that the book was trying to send me.
I think that the materiality of Dear Martin, such as italics for the journal entries or letters, informs the reading experience by creating an intimate and personal bond between Justice and the reader. Meant to mimic handwritten journal entries by our protagonist, we are given private insight to his darkest and deepest thoughts. We know things he dares not share with anyone else. We could feel like an intruder reading his private letters, or we could almost take on the role of Martin Luther King, to be the one Justice confides in and vents to.
The materiality of the text informs the reader of the differences between the physical world and the way that Justice thinks. His journal entries are really emotional, like an outpouring of his feelings and his fears about his experiences, and they allow us to see how he's really thinking and really feeling, especially compared to the more solid text of his day-to-day life, which informs us as to why he feels the way he does. In this more solid narrative format, Justice follows more rigid standards about staying silent in the face of danger and not expressing himself, and he keeps quiet until he's with an audience that understands, which he finds in his journal writings to Martin Luther King.
The use of italics for the handwritten parts of the text, like the journal entries and the letters, really inform the reader that something is different about this perspective, that it's more personable, that it's based in someone's truth and someone's own lived experience. That way it's easier for the reader to distinguish between something like a video transcriptions or a news article where someone who's detached from the situation is writing it, whereas in the first person experiences is handwritten, and it's easier to make that connection.
So the materiality of the text informs my reading experience as it distinguishes the various forms of information I receive. So first we have the first person narration in the standard font, which is just the plot and the events happening to the main character. Then we have the letters indicated by italics that are evidence of the character processing his thoughts and his reactions to the events. And then as a final example, we also have newspaper clippings, which are in a different font, which signal to me that I'm being taken out of Justice's, the main character's perspective a little bit. So the materiality of the text is a tool that helps me distinguish context and how to absorb the story.
I really enjoyed the materiality of the text of Dear Martin, just going through it. There were a lot of journal entries, there were letters, there was a news report, and there was even a conversation that was written out like a script. I really liked these things because I think it allowed us to understand the characters better and really just understand what drives them or what they're really thinking about. I also liked especially the news article because it immersed us into the position of the characters maybe reading that news report for the first time.
The materiality of the text, including the use of italics for the journal entries that Justice writes to Martin Luther King Jr., really enhanced my reading experience. These additions that Nic Stone gave to her novel made me feel closer as a reader to the character of Justice, and I felt closer to the novel as a whole. I felt as if Justice was really writing these letters in real time, and as if he really needed Dr. King's help in these situations.